Welcome to Alchemist Tribune Deep Dives, hosted by the Academic Renegade. We're here to share insights and analysis from the latest articles in the Alchemist Tribune. Each week, we explore how doctorate holders are transforming academic expertise into entrepreneurial success. Let's dive in.
Good morning, listeners. Today we're discussing a fascinating article from the Alchemist Tribune titled Harnessing Your PhD, Thriving in Research-Based Businesses. As someone who made the transition from academia to entrepreneurship myself, this piece really resonated with me.
Absolutely. The article beautifully articulates how doctoral skills transfer to the business world, which is something many PhDs don't fully appreciate until they've made the leap. What struck me immediately was how the article frames research-based businesses not just as companies that do research, but as organizations built on a foundation of evidence and analysis.
That's a critical distinction. We're not just talking about R&D departments here, but entire business models centered around data-driven decision-making. The article makes a compelling comparison. Trying to run a business without data is like navigating a ship without a compass. You might reach land eventually, but it probably won't be your intended destination.
I love that analogy. And it highlights one of the key advantages PhDs bring to the table: their rigorous training in analyzing data and drawing meaningful conclusions. The article specifically mentions how this translates to business success through improved accuracy, enhanced efficiency, and better risk management.
Exactly. It's fascinating to see how the same methodological approach that works in a research setting can be applied to business problems. The article mentions several examples of companies that have leveraged research-based approaches successfully. Biotechnology firms like Genentech, pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna, and tech giants like Google.
What's interesting about those examples is that they span across different sectors. The article points out that research-based businesses thrive in biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and technology, but I'd argue this approach can work in virtually any industry. Even traditionally non-technical fields are becoming increasingly data-driven.
That's a great point. There's hardly any industry today that wouldn't benefit from more evidence-based decision-making. But let's talk about what I found most valuable in this article: the breakdown of how specific PhD skills translate to business success.
Yes, the section on the PhD advantage was particularly insightful. It outlines 3 key areas where doctoral training provides a significant edge: critical thinking and data analysis, creative problem solving, and leadership and project management expertise.
I think many people underestimate that last point. PhDs don't just learn how to analyse data. They learn how to lead complex projects from conception to completion, often with limited resources and tight deadlines. That's essentially what entrepreneurship is all about.
Absolutely. The article quotes that PhDs are often trained to think differently, which can lead to groundbreaking innovations. That distinctive thinking pattern, questioning assumptions, testing hypotheses, and considering alternative explanations, is invaluable in business environments where innovation is crucial.
And innovation is increasingly becoming the lifeblood of competitive advantage in today's market. But making the transition from academia to industry isn't without its challenges. The article addresses this head-on in the section about navigating challenges.
That section really hit home for me. The shift from academic to business timelines can be jarring. In academia, projects might span years, but in business, you often need results in weeks or months. The article suggests breaking projects into smaller, manageable tasks and embracing agile project management approaches.
The agile methodology actually aligns well with how researchers work naturally. We're used to testing hypotheses, getting feedback, and iterating on our approach. In many ways, it's not so different from the scientific method.
That's a brilliant observation. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. The scientific method and agile project management share many similarities. Both involve forming hypotheses, testing them, analyzing results, and refining your approach based on what you learn.
Another challenge the article addresses is funding constraints. In academia, you might apply for grants that fund years of research. In business, you often need to justify expenses more frequently and demonstrate ROI more explicitly.
Exactly. The article suggests understanding company budgets, proposing projects that align with business goals, and seeking partnerships or collaborations to overcome funding limitations. These are practical strategies that can help PhDs adapt to the business world's financial realities.
What I found particularly valuable was the section on building effective systems for research-based projects. The article emphasizes clear communication, standardized procedures, and fostering a culture of feedback and improvement.
Yes, and it quotes Alan Brown saying, "Organizational efficiency is the backbone of successful research initiatives." That's something that's often overlooked in academic settings but becomes absolutely critical in business environments.
I'm curious, what do you think about the article's emphasis on interdisciplinary collaboration? It mentions this as one of the key characteristics of research-based businesses.
I think it's spot on. Innovation rarely happens in isolation. Some of the most groundbreaking advancements come from the intersection of different disciplines. PhDs are often trained to be hyper-specialists, but the most successful ones in business learn to collaborate across fields.
That's a great point. The article emphasizes how bringing together experts from various fields to tackle complex problems can drive success. This might require PhDs to step outside their comfort zones, but the rewards can be substantial.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another strength that PhDs possess: the ability to bridge the gap between academia and industry. They can translate complex research findings into practical applications that drive business growth.
The article mentions this bridging function specifically. PhDs can help companies implement advanced research methodologies and enhance their analytical capabilities. This translates to competitive advantage in today's data-driven marketplace.
What advice would you give to PhD holders who are considering making the jump to industry or entrepreneurship based on this article?
Great question. I'd say first and foremost, recognize the value of your training, beyond just the subject matter expertise. The process of earning a doctorate equips you with transferable skills that are highly valuable in business: critical thinking, problem solving, project management, and the ability to navigate uncertainty.
I'd add that it's important to be willing to adapt. The article emphasizes the need to adjust to new expectations and timelines. Being flexible and open to learning new approaches can make the transition much smoother.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of networking. The article mentions this as a key opportunity for growth when moving to industry. Academic networks tend to be quite different from business networks, so making an effort to connect with professionals in your target industry can open doors.
That's excellent advice. I'd also suggest that PhDs entering the business world should focus on communicating their value effectively. The academic tendency toward jargon and exhaustive detail doesn't always serve well in business contexts where clarity and concision are prized.
Very true. Learning to translate complex concepts into accessible language is crucial for business success. As the article suggests, implementing clear communication strategies is fundamental to research project success.
To summarize, the main takeaways from this article are that PhDs bring valuable skills to the business world, particularly in research-based businesses. That success requires building effective systems and embracing data-driven decision-making. And that transitioning from academia to industry involves adjusting to new expectations and approaches.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, the article reminds us that a doctorate is not just an academic credential, it's a powerful toolkit for innovation and entrepreneurship. PhDs who recognize this can leverage their unique skills to drive significant impact in the business world.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for exploring this article with me today. It's been a fascinating discussion about how doctoral training can be harnessed for business success.
Thanks for joining us on Alchemist Tribune Deep Dives. We're the academic renegade crew, reminding you that your doctorate is more than a degree. It's your launchpad to entrepreneurial success. For more insights, visit us at the Alchemist Tribune, where we're bridging the gap between academia and enterprise. Until next time, keep innovating.